Welcome back to another edition of Fly Tying with Jim Misiura. I had a request to tie a mini balanced leech. Honestly, I'd never heard of it, so I looked it up and I watched a video, and I pointed him to the video, and he said he wants me to tie it, so I'm going to tie it. But anyway, here's what we're shooting for, something to this effect. Try to get that sideways. So there's the balance. You want the concept of this is to have that fly be balanced and riding this way in the water. It's really good if you're fishing lakes. That would be great. It'll be that jig will be just like that instead of nose down. And then as the waves go, it'll be bouncing up and down. But what we have in order to make this is just a regular jig hook that we're going to use. This is going to be a size 12. That's a size 12 also. What you use is you put a bead on a pin, like a sewing pin. You could get the pins plain top. You could get them with a little ball even on them. Different colors or that. But what you want to do is, I'm going to show you here. I don't have those pins. So what I did was I just took an old hook and I cut the barb off, and that's going to be my pin. And I'm going to attach that. And the trick to this is knowing where to place that counterbalance, knowing how far away from the hook to place the counterbalance. And one other thing, when you put it on, you want to put the countersunk side towards the pin head, or the eye if you're going to use a cut-off eye. With the pin head, it doesn't really matter on this with the eye, but with the pin head, the countersunk is going to hide a little bit more of the head of the pin. So what you're going to have to figure out is how far the counterbalance is going to be away from the eye of the hook, and what size pin you're going to need. Obviously, so the bead doesn't fall off, you have to have a head on there. And then you need to figure out where you're going to place that counterbalance according to what size, and you're going to have to figure out what size bead you're going to have to use also. For this size 12 hook, I have a 3mm rainbow bead, and it's tungsten, and I made that one already, so I'm going to kind of go off of that as so I know a little bit where to place the pin and counterbalance. I'm going to start out, I'm using a Synopsy competition jig hook size 12. I'm going to use some black thread, and we're going to get about a base of thread on there. Got to have that base of thread, otherwise the pin could very well slide around the hook shank when you go to attach it. Ways to get around that: you could put a little bit of a little drop of super glue on that, or some head cement on there, but I would put it on after you attach it. Little head cement, but then it's going to take a couple of minutes for it to dry. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to measure. I'm going to look at my finished product there and figure out how far ahead I want to put it. And while you're figuring this out, what you want to do is secure it to the shank of the hook. And then I would even go as far as tie a whip finish or a half hitch in there, take it out and put it on a tippet and see how it balances. But another point also is to secure that bead to the furthest most point on the pin that you're using, or the hook shank that you're using. Because if it slides and it gets close, then you won't be able to get the correct position of it for the balance. So that one's there, that's secure there. So I'm going to go ahead and bring my thread back. And another point, let me go ahead and do a whip finish on this. I think this is important for you to know. I'm going to take this out. I'm going to put that tippet through there, just like I said. There we go, and I got it in the middle. And I'm going to take this out, and I'm going to see where it's at. And it is, right now, it is forward heavy, which is good because I'm going to add weight to it. I'm not going to put more lead on there or anything, but the materials itself is going to pull the back end down. So you want, when you get to that balance point, figuring out your balance point, you want that tip, the bead, to be pushing down slightly so that when you put the rest of the materials on, it will even out. Go ahead and reattach this, put this back in the vise. I go ahead and put a little bit of head cement on there now. Not a big deal. Go ahead and reattach our thread. You will, even with the pin, you're probably going to have to cut it. So I use, just some wire nips. But be careful, because where you cut it, you could leave a sharp spot and then break your thread. And now I'm going to, basically now you're making a woolly bugger, because that's probably the closest thing that to a leech. I'm going to take Marabou. I'm going to take all of this off this top. This is just the bottom of a Marabou feather that would normally get thrown away. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this this tail at least the length from the bead to the bend, at least that far, maybe even a little longer, because when you go ahead and tease out the material that you make the body of, it's going to go back and the tail's kind of going to get lost in the body material. So we'll secure this. There we have our tail. And now if your tail turns out to be too long, you can just bring it all together and then just pinch this off. You don't really want to use scissors when you're making the length of the tail for a couple of reasons, because you could break these very easily, but strength in numbers when they're all together. But you don't want to use scissors because it makes too much of a right angle kind of cut. So what I'm going to do now is the body material, what they want, what's most popular to use is ice wing material. And here's ice wing, and this is bait fish mix. But for the mini blood leech, it's actually a blood leech mix, I think. But what I did is I took my black rabbit and I mixed it up with, I put some of the bait fish mix, I put a little bit of gray, and I put pink in there, so it's all mixed in there. You can see some pink and stuff. So the pink, I should have put probably more pink in there to make it the blood color. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a dubbing loop, and I'm going to put that in as a dubbing. I'm going to put the thread into, or the dubbing into the dubbing loop, and then you'll get yourself a nice noodle right here. We're going to bring that up and actually bring your thread up behind the bead. Now I'm going to take some of the material. You don't have to get skimpy with this, because even if you have too much and you have to trim it down, you could just put that stuff that you trimmed off back into your package or whatever, to use as normal dubbing. Then we'll open up the noodle, and we're going to put that in there, and we're going to keep that in there pretty heavy. Actually, we're going to make that a little bit on the heavy side. Let me grab another bunch. And we'll go ahead and put that in. And we're going to put that in there. And now I'm going to turn my vise upside down. I'm going to move that thread out of the way. I'm going to give my dubbing whirl a spin. And I cut some of the tail there. And we're going to go ahead and wind this on there. Add a little bit heavy there. I'm going to just pull that off right now. There we go. Get up to the jig hook and go beyond it. Then we're going to go ahead and tie that down, tie that in. And I'm going to tie it in and finish it off against the bead itself. Now I could go ahead and trim this off. And then, like I said, that dubbing there, you can just pull that out and put that in. Take our whip finish and finish up with the whip finish. And now this one here, I actually use a small black hackle and put a black hackle in there, but I don't think you really need it. And now you take your dubbing teaser and you could kind of bring this to the front first. Just to pick it out, and then go ahead and pull it to the back. I use my comb there to get that towards the rear, probably better. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of head cement on there, right on that bead. Take our tippet and we'll string that through. Take that out and see what we got. And there we go. We got a pretty good balanced little mini leech. Hope that you learned something from this video. Hope that you would subscribe to my channel. Please refer me to your friends. Please visit my sponsors. Let them know that I sent you. Leave comments, questions, suggestions. If you'd like to purchase these flies that I make, go to etsy.com/shop/theflymanjim. And if you don't see it there, please just send me a message. I'll get right back to you and tell me what you're looking for, and we'll figure things out. And most of all, thank you very much for watching my videos.